Hi, I'm Comet. I've read Trials of Apollo 3 times in the last year. Yes, all the way through. Anyway, let's talk about it. Really quickly though, before we get into the Hidden Oracle, I'd like to just give you a little refresher on some things that happen in Blood of Olympus that I don't know if Milo would have covered that will be relevant to the plotline of Trials of Apollo. The first thing is that Apollo reveals in Blood of Olympus that Gaia freed Python, and Python in turn retook the Oracle of Delphi, and because of that, the Oracle of Delphi has been silent. The second thing is that in Blood of Olympus, Zeus essentially said that someone needed to take the blame and be punished for what happened with the war with Gaia, and since Octavian was the main reason that the Greek and Roman demigods were fighting, and since Octavian was a legacy of Apollo, as well as Apollo didn't really discourage it, he kind of encouraged it, he chose Apollo to get the punishment. With that out of the way, let's get into the Hidden Oracle. The Hidden Oracle picks up in January, 6 months after the end of the war with Gaia. The punishment Apollo received was that he was stripped of his immortality and turned into a 16-year-old named Lester Papadopoulos, and in order for him to regain his immortality, he has to serve a demigod master and undergo a series of trials. Hence the name. The demigod he ends up serving is this 12-year-old daughter of Demeter named Meg McCaffrey. In this story, not only is Python still on the loose and the Oracle of Delphi still silent, but all means of communication, mortal and divine, meaning phone calls, emails, even iris messages, are not working, as well as demigods at Camp Half-Blood are going missing under mysterious circumstances. And Apollo and Meg realize that all of these things are connected. Turns out, there's this organization called Triumvirate Holdings led by 3 Roman emperors. Immortal Roman emperors at that. They were not resurrected, they're immortal. How does that work, you may ask? I'm gonna be honest, I've read these books 3 times in the last year and I still don't fully get it. Something to do with how they worshipped them. While they were rulers, they had them treated this in a similar way that some of the gods were, and because of that, they're kind of immortal. It's not super relevant. They're immortal. They were Roman emperors. They've been around. They didn't die, really. This organization has been influencing history for centuries. They were the ones who funded Luke Castellan in the Titan War and provided him with things like the cruise ship and the helicopters he had. And they also provided Octavian with things like the weapons he used to try to blow up Camp Half-Blood. This organization has been working with Python to capture and control all of the oracles, because there's 5, so they can essentially control fate. All the oracles except one. The Grove of Dodona, because the Titan Rhea created the Grove and they cannot control it because of that. So instead, they want to destroy it. Apollo realizes that the Grove must have regrown in the woods of Camp Half-Blood. The thing about the Grove of Dodona is that without proper care, all of the things it says is completely incoherent and has the possibility of driving people insane. And so Lester realizes that more than likely, the Grove regrowing in Camp Half-Blood is the reason for the campers going missing. So Meg and Apollo set out to find the Grove of Dodona, hoping to find the missing campers and save it from being destroyed. We have major spoilers from here on out. When Apollo and Meg find the Grove, they find the missing demigods, but they are also confronted by Nero, one of the emperors who owns Triumvirate Holdings. Now, Nero needs Apollo and Meg to open the Grove so he can destroy it. Now, you'd think that'd be a bit hard for him to do, but no. Because the thing about Meg and Nero is that Nero took Meg in when she was very young and raised her and taught her how to fight. Little thing about Nero, he's also known as the Beast because of some truly horrifying things he's done. Nero killed Meg's dad. Why is Meg still hanging around the guy who killed her dad? Well, Meg was so young when Nero took her in and when he killed her dad that he was able to manipulate her into thinking that Nero and the Beast were different entities, and that when Nero did bad things, it wasn't actually Nero, it was the Beast. It was a thing he couldn't control, and the Beast came out when he was angry. So if he got angry and bad things happened, it was the Beast's fault. But the thing is the Beast wouldn't be around if he didn't get angry. So he's really placing the blame on Meg for angering the Beast. Because of this, Nero is able to convince Meg to open the gates to the Grove of Dodona. But when they open the gates, the Grove informs Meg that Nero will destroy it if she opens the gates, and so she decides to betray Nero. Meg runs into the grove. Apollo is able to save himself from Nero and save the other campers, and then tries to run after Meg in the grove, where Meg tells him that he is no longer of her service, and she runs away. Apollo ends up receiving a prophecy from the Grove of Dodona of what his next trial will be, and Apollo and the missing campers return to Camp Half-Blood without Meg. When they return to camp, they find that it is being attacked by the Colossus Neuronus, which is a giant automaton that looks like a mix of Nero and Apollo that's entirely naked. The children of Apollo are gonna have a hard time on seeing that one, I'm sure. And Apollo has to enchant a plague arrow to take it out. He succeeds in doing so, but he also discovers that he has a new friend. An arrow from the Grove of Dodona who only speaks in Elizabethan English. Yes, that is relevant to the plot, believe it or not. The next day, we see Leo return to camp, finally, with Calypso, and they offer to help him on Apollo's next quest. The quest given to him by the Oracle was to go to Indiana and visit the Cave of Trophonius, one of the 4 oracles they have to save from the Triumvirate. And that is our setup to our next book, The Dark Prophecy. Out of Olympus, Apollo... I'm not wearing a belt. The first thing is... the first being that Apollo revealed that Gaia had brought back, and Python that, okay. The first thing, okay. Apollo puts together, turns out, so the thing about the Grove of Dodona is that without proper care, it has... Fuck, what else was I gonna say? Nero killed Meg's dad. That the Grove informs, what the fuck do they inform Meg? The Grove informs Meg. The Grove informs Meg. Apollo is able, okay,